Hello guys, today I'll be reviewing Load by Metallica. Of course, at this time, they were starting to change a little bit. It was definitely a big departure from what we've heard from the previous albums. With this album, they're going for a more hard rock approach. A little bit of bluesy rock in there too. But also, you can notice that when you look into some of the influences that this band had during the making of this album. You had bands and artists such as Corrosion of Conformity, Garth Brooks, of all artists, and Alice in Chains, Ted Nugent, and of course many other artists. So some interesting choices there. But also they changed their look, of course, from cutting their hair to the eyeliner and makeup and all that. But now not like glam metal makeup, but there was a little bit of eyeliner and many other things. But this album, some people were on board with it when it came out, while others were definitely split or just really not into it. But with over time, some people grew to like it, while others, of course, still don't like it. Of course, when this album came out, I was still not alive. I wasn't born yet, so of course my thoughts and history are going to be a bit more different than some people. But for me, I've always liked the album, but I've never really loved it though. But it's always had its share of tracks I've always still personally kind of enjoyed. But anyways, let's go ahead and dive into the album. The album starts off with Ain't My Bitch, and the song definitely gives you a good idea of what's to come with this album and what's going to come next with the rest of the songs on the album. With its more hard rock style, and the riffs definitely have some nice punch to them. Even the drum work can too. And overall, it's a pretty catchy song. Not my favorite on the album, but I do like it though, but not a bad way to start off the album. But then we get to 2x4, and one of my personal favorites on the album. I like the kind of overall swing to the rhythm of this song, such as, of course, in the verses. And all around, what really pulls me into the song the most really is the rhythm work and some of the riffs. And overall, it's another fairly catchy song on the album, in my opinion. But next we get to The House Jack Built, and this song lyrically deals with drug use, a bit slower in pace and tempo, and maybe a bit more melodic. I've always liked this song, but I've never really loved it. But I would say it is one of the better songs on the album, though. But next we have the song Until It Sleeps, one of the singles off the album, and of course you had that music video that was kind of odd, kind of not, well, you could say not really Metallica, especially at that time, but definitely unique though. And I think it's one of the best songs on the album. I like the haunting / dark melodies in this song, such as in the verses. Then you have the chorus where the riffs are a bit more crunchy, I guess you could say, if that's the best word or the best way to describe them. But overall, I think it's a pretty solid single and not a bad choice for a single either. And lyrically, I believe the song has to do with James's mom and her death. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I've heard. But overall, I think it's a pretty solid song on the album and one of the highlights on the album too. Then we get to King Nothing, and this song, out of all the songs on this album, this one's the one that probably comes the closest to what we heard from the Black Album in terms of its overall, I guess, maybe style. But yeah, it's another highlight on the album for me. One of the heavier songs on the album too. But it's the song that lyrically is about someone who's basically greedy or just wants everything, or basically stuff like that, themes like that. And it's definitely one of the highlights on the album for me personally, especially with the riffs. And I also really like the solo too. But then you get to Hero of the Day. Sometimes I see some people having it being one of their favorites on the album. Kind of a fan favorite for some people, but I'll be honest. Even when I was getting into Metallica, when I was more of a newer fan, I never really could get into this song personally. It's not bad, but it's never been a song that's really grabbed me as much as other songs on the album or other songs in this era in the band. Again, not bad. I just never really could get into it, but definitely not their worst song though. But then we get to Bleeding Me, and definitely what really pulls into the song is the melody and the emotion in general, of course, from James. And yeah, this song all around is great and definitely one of the highlights on the album for me. I mean, and also has some of the best solo work and guitar work in general on this album. I mean, definitely has its own thing going on. I mean, of course, it does fit with the overall sound going on in this album, but I'd say it's unique enough to stand on its own, you could say. But overall, I think it's a pretty good song. I believe it's a little over 8 minutes long, and I think it earns that song length. It doesn't feel like it's just dragging on and on. I feel like it does enough to keep you interested in the song, keep you engaged, you could say. But overall, I think it's one of the highlights on the album. But then you get to the song Cure. I've seen many people cite it as one of the weaker songs on the album or just straight up filler. It's another song that kind of deals with drug use a little bit, if I'm thinking of the right song. It doesn't really bring much new to the table. It's basically standard hard rock Metallica, but it's not bad though. I do like it though. But then we get to Poor Twisted Me, which I think is maybe one of their worst songs. Never could get into this one, especially how James approaches the lyrics and how he delivers them. Oh, poor twisted me. Nah, I just could never get into the song at all. I think it's probably one of their worst songs. I never could get into it again. But then we get to the song Wasting My Hate, and I believe this song was inspired by a close friend of James. I am blanking out on his name, but it's one of the heavier tracks on the album, and kind of underrated, and not a song that I think to go back to very often or anything, but I think it's one of the better songs on the second half of the album, but overall I think it's pretty good. But then we get to Mama Said, and this is of course Metallica's country song, or the country song on the album. When I was a newer fan of Metallica, I'll be honest, never could get into the song, but I'd say with time, I think I don't mind the song as much as time has gone on, but as of now, I think it's okay. Another song that I believe has to do with, or lyrically has to do with James's mom and her death, and for what it is, it's okay. I mean, I'll admit I rarely ever feel like returning to this song, but for what it is, I wouldn't say that it's bad, even though it's definitely very different from what we've heard from the previous albums, but overall, again, it's not bad. But then we get to Thorn Within, and what stands out the most to me in the song is probably the guitar work, and a bit of a longer song. It's a hair under 6 minutes. Not the longest song on the album, but I will say that one of my biggest gripes with this album is that sometimes the album can feel a bit long, and this is one of the songs on the album for me that maybe could benefit from a little bit of trimming. Not a lot, but a little bit though. Maybe like shave off maybe like 30 seconds or maybe a minute at best. I wouldn't go more than that, but the song, I like it, but I've never really loved it though. But again, I've always really dug the riffs though, at least. But then we get to Ronnie, and I believe the song is about a kid, of course, named Ronnie, who was bullied and did a school shooting, or he was involved in a school shooting or something like that, something in that nature. But I think it's one of the weakest tracks on the album. I mean, I don't know, when I listen to it, when I hear the main riff, it just feels very trailer park, very kind of butt rockish in my opinion. That's the kind of vibe that I get when every time I hear this song, or even the main riff just on its own. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's awful, but it's definitely one of the weaker songs on the album, in my opinion. But finally, we get to the album closer, The Outlaw Torn, and this is another song, in my opinion, that definitely would benefit from some trimming. Now, it's not bad. I think what stands out the most to me in the song is probably the guitar work, and it does have some interesting twists and turns here and there, but I don't think the song does enough to keep me interested through the whole 9 or 10 minutes. I believe it's a hair under 10 minutes. I could be wrong, but I feel like the song could benefit again from some trimming. But some interesting ideas here and there, such as with the guitar work and some of the riffs, but I wouldn't say that it's the best album opener out there. But again, not bad. I do like it overall, but I wouldn't say that I love it. But anyways, if I had to rate this album, I'd probably give it maybe 7.5 or 7.8. Not a bad album. It does have its share of pretty solid tracks, but it's definitely not one of their best albums. But it does have its fans, though. It does have its following, but again, not one of their best, but I wouldn't say it's their worst either. But anyways, let me know your thoughts on the album. Do you love it? Do you hate it? How's it compared to the other albums for you personally? And all that good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Comment and like, subscribe. Have a nice day, and take care.